So I just watched Steven Crowder's second Change My Mind gun control video, and I had a couple thoughts. In his discussion with the first person, his opponent did something that I found quite remarkable, something that I haven't hardly ever, if ever, seen occur in a gun control debate. His opponent actually asked him, "Steven, do you have any suggestions to stop this if you don't like banning guns?" And Steven's answer was basically, no. I don't think anything really needs to be done because gun violence is decreasing, the status quo is fine. And you could see at that point that his opponent's engagement in the discussion pretty much dropped off right there. And I think for good reason. Many gun control people are already arguing from an emotive place, so attacking with logical arguments doesn't always have the same impact that you would expect it to. You could be right all day long, but it doesn't. You could tell it didn't go in. It didn't sink. And the same could be said about the second person he was discussing it with. I think that the reason for that is because Stephen was accepting a status quo that included a very recent school shooting. So to say that is okay, that's just part of the system, shows a certain amount of condoning going on there, unintentionally, and I'm sure that's not what he meant, as he elucidated with the second person. He is in no way supportive of school shootings, but to say that the scenario that allows for school shootings is okay is understandably offensive. What I would suggest instead is that we need to be a part of the solution. We need to start coming up with ideas that could help with school shootings without infringing on constitutionally protected rights. And I think that there are solutions out there for that, and we just haven't been talking about it because on the more conservative side of things, we've been focused on playing defense so hard. But the truth is we're losing ground with the Florida bills just getting enacted. There's been a flurry of other egregious gun control bills in other states around the country in light of this most recent shooting. And there's going to be more shootings, and there are going to be more bills, and some of them are going to pass. I don't mean to be fear-mongering about it, but it behooves us to be a part of this part of the conversation, because school shootings, they are a phenomenon unto itself. They are a part of our culture that has a specific cause and reason behind it, specific unto itself, that can be addressed and dealt with on its own without having to address constitutional rights at large. And I think that it's important that we do that, because if we don't start trying to steer this train and we just focus on boycotting it and, oh no, your argument is illegitimate, then we have no control over where it goes. To that end, I do have a couple suggestions, because whether or not these are suggestions that everyone will agree on, I think it's important to contribute something other than to just identify the problem. So, two suggestions. First, I hear in these debates a lot that only the military and police are trained and eligible to use assault weapons, to which I say, okay, fine, I don't want them banned, but if these are the only people that you feel comfortable with having semi-automatic or fully automatic weapons, at least in the context of school, we don't even have to take away the gun-free zone label on schools, but as it is now, policemen can go onto school grounds with a sidearm on them, regardless of the fact that it is designated a gun-free zone, and I think they should be able to. I think we should expand that to have one policeman or soldier on our school campuses at all times, and I think that they should be allowed to carry their service weapon, not just a sidearm. I think they should be able to have an M16 or whatever they're given as a deterrent against any would-be school shooters, and I think that'd be a potent one, knowing that there's somebody who is better armed and better trained than them at all times at our schools. My second suggestion is that we start consulting with facility security in the design of our schools, because as they are now, in large part, our schools are deplorably designed for security, with many exits, many entrances, sprawling layouts that would take forever to clear. Um, there's an entire field devoted to non-intrusive security measures that can be taken just in the layout of a school that can reduce the effectiveness of somebody who wanted to take innocent lives. Doing these two things, I think, would show a marked reduction in, if not the incidence, at least the effect of school shootings. And these suggestions have many benefits. For one, they would not be very expensive. Remodeling would be a moderate cost for most school districts. If they get in on designing new schools from the start, it'd be a low cost. As far as having soldiers or policemen on school grounds, there are often policemen on school grounds already, and or recruiters from the military. I would suggest having a military be given, like a recruiter be given an office, probably in a counseling center or a career center on school grounds, with a secure location where they could lock their weapon when they're not using it. Just as an added precautionary measure, and to kind of reinforce good gun habits of keeping it secured. So it wouldn't cost a whole lot to add that as well. Also, neither of these measures need to be enacted by Congress, a Congress which seemingly has its hands tied in pretty much anything these days. That being said, if anybody has any other ideas, I'd be happy to discuss those. But I think that we need to start having these conversations on the pro-gun side of the equation as well, or else there might not be much of a pro-gun side of the equation to discuss.